Hi, welcome to Mondays with Marcia. I'm Marcia Judkins, a former representative in the Utah House of Representatives, and I'm here to talk Utah politics with you. So the last day of the 2025 Utah legislative session was March 7th, and 962 bills were drafted and filed, and of those, 582 bills were passed by both houses, and have been sent to the governor for either signing or veto. The last week of the legislative session is always extremely busy with debates and votes on hundreds of bills. But what makes it even more stressful is the budget process. And here's how it works. If a bill will cost the state more than $20,000, it gets labeled as a fiscal note bill. And unlike other bills, these can't be finalized until the second to last day of the session. That means no matter how much support your bill has, you won't know if it'll be funded or passed until the very end. And calling these particular bills fiscal note bills is kind of a misnomer because every bill has to have a fiscal note attached to it in order to even start the process of being heard in committee and moving on. And what a fiscal note is kind of like an invoice that shows the potential financial impact of the legislation on the state, local governments, businesses, and individuals. And you can find each bill's fiscal note through a link on the right-hand side of the bill page. So, bills that cost the state less than this $20,000 threshold, which is the majority of bills, can go through the process and be voted on at any point in the session. Even bills that have a cost to local government, school districts, or businesses can get through final passage without any special treatment or delay, and that's what we call unfunded mandates. So anyway, in the last few days of the session, as I said, it is so extremely chaotic and hectic as dozens of bills are being debated and voted on every day. And then the proposed budget is released and legislators finally get to see if their fiscal note bills and funding requests have made it into the budget. If their bill is on the list, they can breathe a little easier, but it still faces that final up or down vote. And also last minute funding changes can still happen, and this leads to some serious behind the scenes bartering and negotiating. So one of the wildest parts of this process happens on the 42nd day of the session. You remember the session is 45 days long. So this is right before the end. It's called speed dating, which is a rapid fire pitch session where lawmakers with fiscal note bills that didn't get funded in the proposed final budget get just 60 seconds to convince their colleagues of why their bill or bills should get funding. And after these quick pitches, legislators get a few hours to think things over and lobby their colleagues for support for their bills. And then you have to submit your top 3 to 5 funding priorities to leadership. But the catch is that there's only a small pot of leftover discretionary funds, so only a handful of these unfunded bills can make it through, and there's usually quite a few unfunded bills. Typically 3 to 6 bills win this last chance funding round, and those lucky bills get added to the final budget. And then on the 44th day of the session, the legislature is required to either pass or defeat each funded fiscal note bill. So I've had bills both win and lose in this process, and it is crazy and stressful. But thanks for listening, and let me know if you have questions about anything else. And I'll see you next Monday.